to the global inflation and rising cost of operations. Mr. Tijani said this while briefing journalists after a closed-door budget defense session with the National Assembly as Joint Committee on Information, Communications and Technology in Abuja. He noted that telcos have struggled with high operating costs for several years in addition to global inflationary pressures. The minister stated that the government was committed to ensuring the sustainability of telecommunications sector and protection of Nigeria's interests. Let's talk to Mr. Adeolu Ogunbanjo. He's the National President, National Association of Telecom Subscribers, to bear his mind on this present development. Good afternoon, Mr. Ogunbanjo. It's good to have you join the show.
Pleasure having me join your program.
Yes, I'm sure you heard my introduction and heard what government is saying is responsible for this development. So let me ask you, first, how would you react to this, considering all of these issues laid down by government?
Thank you very much. It's unfortunate. A lot of economic factors are affecting our everyday livelihood as of today. 2023 was something else for most Nigerians. Subsidy removal gone. Subsidy was removed from petroleum. Again, the dollarization came immediately after that. You know, the way that the dollar, was devalued was again something that we never expected. So with all these and other factors like, for instance, rising cost of the electricity tariff and a number of other factors. So goods and services, became much more high. It was hiked. Everybody now started looking at price hikes. But the telecom sector, yes, granted, only 12 years ago, that was when the telecom companies actually had the last price increase. But that does not justify their demand for a 100% increase, whilst NCC now granted 50% increase. That is rather too high. It is too much. Whatever they must have considered is not justifiable at all.
When you say not justifiable, what do you think, in your thoughts, is justifiable at this point?
Thank you very much. We had already issued a press statement saying that we will definitely consider an increase in price, but not 100% that they were talking about, and not 50%, because a 10% increase will just be fine for now. Apparently, because of some other factors that is, imminent in the telecom sector. I do know that the banks, for instance, are owing the telcos, they're owing the telecom companies. And if they're not paying, and this runs into billions, that is the banks. Again, the network operators are owing themselves. You get what I'm saying? So they're owing themselves. That is, this network may be owing the other network, and so on and so forth. So they owe themselves. Let them pay up themselves. Let the bank pay up, plus a 10% increase. Perhaps that will be fine, in terms of bringing additional funds for the business. Beyond that is the fact that they can even go to the capital market. They can do IPOs, initial public offers, go to the stock exchange, and raise more funds. Nigerians will be interested in actually, getting the shares of telecom companies. So, there are other options for them rather than just hop on the easy way out, increase prices by 50%. It's a no-no.
So now that this has happened, as the national president of telecom operators of Nigeria, at least you've come up with your own position now, saying you are against this. So what will be the next line of action? We hear you might be going to court.
Thank you very much. We obviously will engage them tomorrow and Friday. That is the NCC. Whether they may listen to the voice of Nigerians, the voice of reason. If they listen and bring it down to 10%, I mean, then we're home and dry. We'll smile. Nigerian subscribers will smile. However, if that does not happen, we may have to seek legal redress, go the legal option to, go to court next week.
Again, I want to take you back to some facts on ground. We've seen the Naira depreciate. We've seen the foreign exchange issues. We've seen challenges, for importing equipment for this telcos. I'm not holding brief for them. I'm just a business journalist highlighting the basic issues. We've also seen the price of diesel go as much as, you know what I'm talking about. And they have to power their facilities and all of that. So some say, and when you also look at the payment, the amount for our data and call tariff here in Nigeria, some say it's almost the smallest across some countries in Africa. How does this also come to you, Mr. Ogunbanjo?
It's not the smallest, it's not the highest. Let me tell you that. Our tariff rate is not the highest and is not the smallest. However, we shouldn't be we should not be tilting towards the highest. You see, let me take you back a little bit. In 2001, 2002, when the telecom companies came on board, Econet and MTN to be precise, they said it wasn't possible because at that time they were charging us per minute. If you make any call and the call drops after 2-3 seconds, you will pay for 1 minute. Then Natcoms came on board, 2002, and said, look, this is wrong. Can you please go and do per second billing? They said it wasn't possible until 2007. Thank God for Glo. Glo came up 2003 and started per second billing. So they always want the easy way out. I'm sorry. For us, they've been making profits. It's just that they don't want to, let go of this humongous profit. But the subscriber should also not be stifled. Should not be killed with tariff charges. For God's sake, this is, 50% is rather too much. This is too much.
We all know that
can be accommodated.
We know that data is life, of course, for education, financial services, and all of that. Do you think that if this stays, it would affect usage? Maybe the drop in usage, maybe the person that calls now, we now have to start calling so fast. Hello, how are you? Where are you? And you cut the calls. Do you think this would affect the bottom line at the end of the day, even for the telcos?
Yes, of course, it will. Apparently because, for instance, the POS operator next door, on the street, will increase prices, which is, imminent. Everything, both direct and indirect services, will increase. To the already impoverished Nigerian, people from the village will have to, again, an average Nigerian calls for 3 minutes per call. 3 minutes. Now that is one call. They will make their money back. 10% is fine. We are looking at, for instance, SMS cost, they are saying 6 naira. We are saying 4 naira 40 kobo. Just 10% increase. By the time you look at that, plus every day call, 3 minutes minimum. Some talk for 10, 15, 30 minutes, even more. Some talk for hours. And then you now want to milk the consumer dry? No.
So a gigabyte of data will now cost, according to this increase, about 1,667 naira. And they from 11
that is
now.
1 gigabyte.
Yes. Yes.
Is that 1 gigabyte?
1 gigabyte. 1 gigabyte. Now let's look at moving forward. If there is a shift, you said that there's a shift, but if that shift doesn't come to 10%, what else would you do? Let me ask you that question that way.
Well, we are looking at 10%, and then
but you can still shift grounds, right?
Well, let's engage. If they shift, then we may consider how shift is the shift. Okay. Whether it's shift towards, for instance, I know that about 4 or 5 weeks back, they are talking of 40%.
Okay. Okay.
We won't take 40%. No. But if it is reasonable, maybe between 10 and 15, we probably may start to look at that. So we may be looking at that. So again, you said there are other options for these telcos to generate more funds. I'd like you to touch on that again. I'd like you to touch on that again as we wrap up this conversation. Thank you very much, sir. I did say earlier that if the 10% increase is not enough, you know, because of the so-called humongous, according to the telcos, humongous operational costs, we are saying that they can go to the public to raise funds through IPOs, because I know that MTN is already gone public, and then I don't know of others, but they can go to the capital market, stock exchange. Then the one that are gone public, they do IPO, like First Bank, 10 shares or something. You get the banks are owing. The banks are deliberately stifling the network operators, so they should pay off. They should not, one industry shouldn't kill the other. Then interconnect debts that they are all, you know, owing themselves, they should pay. If all this come together, I'm sure we will have a healthy telecom sector.
Indeed, that's true, because you cannot access the USSD service that we used to have before now, all because of that debt. Finally, what would you want to tell Nigerians? Of course, you represent the telecom subscribers, and they want to hear from you, at least at the moment, before there is either a shift or we don't get a shift, like you said.
Thank you very much. I must say that telecommunication services is now the 4th biological need after food, clothing, and shelter. Communications is now a biological need, if you permit me to say so. So because of the importance of this, we will definitely be appealing to the NCC to please come down from the height of 50% and come to something reasonable, like we have recommended, 10%.
All right, then we'll keep a tab on you, and let's see how this goes. After your meeting, Thursday, Friday, we'll talk to you and see what happens as we move on. Mr. Adeolu Ogunbanjo is the national president of the National Association of Telecom Subscribers, NATCOMS. Thank you so much for joining us on Business Nigeria this afternoon. We appreciate this.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, loud and clear.
I can't seem to hear you.
Can you hear me?
I don't know what's going on.
Mr. Ogunbanjo, I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you for your time. All right, then it's time to review trading activities at the Nigerian Exchange Limited. And APT Securities and Funds, equities trader at APT Securities and Funds, Mr. Jamiu Mohammed, is my guest to talk around this. Mr. Mohammed, good afternoon, and thank you for joining the program.